Games, they used to be hard back then. But why? When video games started, machines were nothing more than zeros and ones that we used to process and encrypt messages and make hard calculations faster. As being a species with sophisticated brain, we need to entertain yourselves.
They come in two categories: sports games such as tennis, hockey, football, boxing, all with good graphics and sound effects. Even more popular are the adventure games like Super Mario.
In the beginning, video games had to be simple. A lot of early games were brutally difficult, and not always because developers were trying to create some deep philosophical experience about perseverance and human suffering. Running from the left to right, jumping, killing the enemy by jumping on his head, you get the gist. But what does that have to do with anything? Well, one of the reasons was, as the technology was in its baby steps, storage was also a problem, with 8 or 16 bits or even more, so the level design had to be well thought out to give you nightmares. The reason those games were hard is because of the duration. Sometimes they just needed the game to last longer than 20 minutes. When your hardware can only hold so much, difficulty becomes content. If a player has to repeat the same stage 10 times, you just double the game's lifespan, without adding a single level. It was efficient, cruel, and kind of genius. Ever felt that when you play a game, you actually finish faster than the first time, or you get easier? This is something that still happens, but back then was pretty absurd. What I'm trying to say is, if they designed the game to be harder, and actually have to take time to be good at it, you would play it longer, and it wouldn't feel so short. That is why so many older games live in our memory as both classics and personal attacks. Mario gets unfairly intense near the end, Ninja Gaiden behaves like it actively resents your existence, Contra is basically a trust exercise between you and pain, and yet, for a long time, this kind of challenge was normal. And for a while, the industry seemed pretty comfortable with that. As time went by and we evolved in consoles and PCs, the games got longer, stories got way more complex, optional stuff that if you are a masochist, it can take you more than 100 hours to finish. And also games got way longer to be developed nowadays to the point of being ridiculous. So through time, not only technologies and graphics change, but also mechanics. A game being hard wasn't necessary anymore, it was a choice. And companies surely thought that was something that nobody would want. Why would the players actually want something that would make them suffer? And for some time, they were right, but some of the gamers wanted something more challenging from the games. But it wasn't something that made them stop playing, that was the norm until 2009. Demon's Souls, a game developed by FromSoftware, a vision of Hidetaka Miyazaki, my boy Miyazaki, graduated in social science and worked as account manager. After he played Ico, he decided to change his career to game development. He joined the FromSoftware company in 2004 as a designer, and the first game he worked there was already in mid-development. Miyazaki really wanted to work on the spiritual sequel, yes, sequel, for King's Field. Demon's Souls, an RPG game based on a medieval setting. The game suffered a lot in his early development because nobody knew what to do with it. And to get things worse, the game had the company really worried because Sony was involved with it, and they didn't want to blow the opportunity. So Miyazaki again got the game mid-development. The game's difficulty was intended to both evoke classic video games and provide a sense of challenge and accomplishment for players. Miyazaki was afraid, partly because of his fear that Sony would ask the team to lower the difficulty in order to make the game more accessible. The game had showcases in 2008 to see what people would think about it, and after everything, they hate it. People didn't really understand it, and the game did not explain itself well. It did not particularly care whether you felt comfortable, and it absolutely did not mind killing you for your curiosity. People's reaction was so bad that Sony decided to not release the game outside Japan, being a huge loss for Sony only, as the game was messy in development since the start and was perfect for the director to try what he wanted for 3 years. Sony president, on the other hand, was so cooked that he played the game for 2 hours and couldn't pass through the starting area. The decision to not release outside Japan, Sony would soon regret, as the game got so good reactions and positive feedbacks from the West. They even praised the difficulty as a breath of fresh air in the industry. After that, Sony published the game on the rest of the world and sold a lot, even Japan, sold and won a ton of awards. Making the success of an experimental game as Demon's Souls gave Miyazaki the green light. Sony also saw the potential to go even further. Miyazaki had the opportunity to do everything Demon's Souls done right, and everything that the game made wrong, they could perfect it. In 2011, the game that would bring back the sensation of challenge of old school games and redefine a genre, Dark Souls, was born. Dark Souls came somewhat anticipated. Being a spiritual sequel of Demon's Souls, people who played the previous game were excited to see what the next step would be. This game came and basically defined some people's job on the internet and a new obsession for the spectrum. When you started the game, you had a normal character creation, and doesn't matter what you do in the end, you have a horrible creature. I'm sorry, if you are able to make yourself on Dark Souls, I have horrible news for you. You start the game in prison, when this beautiful man gives you the key to your cell. You run around and reach your first bonfire. The bonfires are rest points that serves as a checkpoint and saves the game, where you could level up and do your things in peace, a safe spot in hell. After opening the big door, bam! A fat guy just fell from the sky. Of course, you run, as you don't have any weapons, run around, take some gear, find that guy again but dying, to take your Estus flask, your most important item in the game. With it, you can heal, it's your potion. Now you have the high ground to fight the booty demon, so do a plunge attack, and finally face the fat dude. Asylum demon killed, you roll into a cliff where a giant crow appears and take you to Firelink Shrine, basically the hub of Dark Souls. Just like Demon's Souls had one, the difference is in Dark Souls, nowhere is safe. This beginning is already enough to bait us into the game. What is this place? And what is that flame that everyone talk about? What is undead? Humans? And what do we have to do? The feeling of being thrown into the world to explore and discover your way is like being forgotten in the market by your mom. Dark Souls and Demon's Souls have some key difference. The greatest change from Demon's Souls is they have to divide the game in sections, where you had the lobby and you choose which zone to go. In Dark Souls, the whole world was interconnected. Do you see the castle in the distance? You can go there. Do you see the fortress right there? You can go there. See the forest? You can get lost in there and die in all those places. I'm gonna say something unexpected here. Getting lost is actually good. You never had a clear place in Dark Souls where you should go to begin with, but that matters because like that, you will end up in a place that even if it's not your first playthrough, you get surprised with a place or someone you never saw the first time you played. Getting lost in this game is so normal and important that when you stop playing and go to sleep, you keep thinking, damn, I need to sleep already so tomorrow comes and I can see what we have in there. Those design choices were so goated in the PS3 and Xbox 360 era that influenced a whole bunch of games that came after Dark Souls, with vertical design and area design, allowing your player to see where they are going and the whole way they will walk to get there. That is simply another thing. Demon's Souls had more of a feeling of mission accomplished, where you would select an area, go, explore, take some irons, kill the boss, and come back with a way to go to another area. Don't get me wrong, this isn't bad, but Dark Souls could do so much more, making the world feeling so much more alive. Exploring the ruins of a fort, a Drake, appears where you have to pass through a bunch of hollowed enemies, face another demon, and meet the best man in the series, Praise the Sun, just to be burned by the Drake, go around and up a church, face 2 enemies at the same time to finally get your herald. Ring a bell. What does it do? Nothing much, but now you know. I have to ring one more bell. Where? Why? You don't have no idea. The combat were faster, better, and you could feel the attack connect more, just like dying more. Shortcuts, loops, up and down, so many things to discover, and after getting lost, you could find the door where you had the key that you got in that unusual place back there, and voila, the shortcut is open. The first time that experience in Dark Souls was so good. In this game, you have so many places to see. Prisons, dungeons, castles, cities, sewers, forests, swamps, goddamn swamps, and many more. Everything connected, where you could get by foot. An example of how connected everything is, the correct way to get into Blighttown, this god-forsaken place that is 90% in a vertical exploration, was going through the depths. Basically the fortress sewers. Beat an alligator monster dragon down there, take a key, go back the stairs, open the big door, and get the whole way down until you reach the swamp down there. But in the character creation, you can get an item for free called Gift. If you started the game with the most useful item, the Master Key, when you are in Firelink Shrine, you can get an elevator down to the new Lodon Ruins, where you could open a door at the right side of the elevator that gets you to a new and better passage to Blighttown, where you could get down from the other side that you actually should have used to go up. Down there you have this place with a tree, where you have a secret passage, and not satisfied, you have another secret passage right behind the chest, and another one. 3 consecutive secret passages, a whole new area that you have to get down branch by branch just to reach a whole new area, one of the most beautiful area in the game. Run the whole way through, be careful to not get hit by the Hydra, just to arrive at the end and meet a dragon, enter his guild, and your prize, you get a horrible power. At least you can cut his tail off and use as a sword, and he doesn't care, he's chill. Do you understand? A whole section of the game is completely optional and well hidden. You take more than 1 hour. You have to get past a secret place just to reach this place. This makes the world feel alive, like things happen when you, the player, are not around to see. It is such a good memory and discovery that the first time ever stepping to the Ash Lake, looking at the place and hearing that music made me just stop and notice how such a place was hidden from the player, and that feeling doesn't go away. What players wasn't prepared in this game is walking and walking and walking, and damn how you walk in this game. You had a lot of different NPCs, assholes and friends, where you could summon some of them to help you in battle. But for that, you had to be a human using a specific item that would reverse your hollowed stage, so you could get some minus buff and specific things like summoning. Together with that, you had the online feature where you could invade other players' game and help, kill, or make everything worse for them. If you are tired of playing this game too much, you can always mess with the other players. When Dark Souls released, it was a success. It was a way better, balanced, and everything that Demon Souls couldn't be. Even the story that was convoluted but made sense. The game has a non-intrusive way to tell the story. You can get bits by weapons, NPCs dialogues, messages, and this kind of stuff. The game never interrupts your gameplay to tell you about something. It was so well thought that if you analyze your surroundings, you could understand the context of something. Every little item, being a broken sword, a black spear by a black knight that you took has an item description explaining a tiny bit of the lore for you, something that you will understand only if you want to look for it. But if your objective is only to play and enjoy, I can guarantee you, you will without any trouble. You are going to finish the game smiling with that sense of accomplishment without understanding bull crap about nothing, not even knowing why you did everything that you did. The story that we see unfold, it is in the beginning of it. It's the wrapping. You are in a destroyed kingdom and it's up to you what to do now. You can find 1 hour long videos telling you Dark Souls story and how everything happened way before you arrived. Well, what legacy Dark Souls leave? The game was so innovative, so good, it created not a fanbase, it created a cult. Everyone loved Dark Souls. That entire genre was created using the same formula and being hard being the premise. The Soulslike, that eventually became Soulsborne, and then Soulsborne Kiro, and then Soulsborne Kiro Elden. Okay, I just created those, but the Soulsborne is real. That was such a mark that everything was referenced to Dark Souls. The Dark Souls of platform, the Dark Souls of superhero gaming, the Dark Souls of RPGs, just like the feel like the Batman meme. It broke out an argument among players about having difficulty as a selling point. Some people argue the game should have an option to choose the difficulty. In my opinion, it shouldn't. It breaks the entire premise of the game. Some even call the game unfair with the deaths, items, and exploration. But that is one of the things that Demon Souls and after Dark Souls wanted to teach you. First, attention. You have to be prepared of what you face. Learn patterns to get better. Second, risk against reward. Is it really worth it to pass through those enemies to have that shiny ball that you don't know what it is? You can always choose to leave it. Third, and one of the most important one, patience and greed. Sometimes, a boss will have a little HP left, but if you notice that you can only deal 2 attacks before he hits you, and you already dealt those 2 attacks, don't try the third one. The game will punish you really hard for trying to be faster, and you have to restart the whole thing again just because you had some greed. The last, and the most important one, learning through your failure, or to death. Dying in this game, it isn't pointless. It serves as a superpower. You can test, redo, see if you can make it. Dying has the purpose to learn. There's literally a version of the game that is called Prepare to Die Edition, so I don't really think the game is unfair. We should have a choose difficulty option. Dark Souls caused such a revolution in the gaming world that nobody knows a hard game anymore. Everything is just Dark Souls or something now. And until this day, the most part of a new game that we get released is a type of a Soulsborne. It is funny to think about how everything changed. Games used to be hard, challenging, most of the times, not on purpose. Then everything becomes easier, even to make it more accessible. And then Dark Souls and Demon Souls came and showed to the industry that it has no problem to be hard again and giving difficulty a meaning. Well, what are your opinions? Leave the comments down below. If you like the video, please leave a like. And if you want more content like this, please subscribe. Bye bye.